Yeah. So I thought, right then I thought, maybe I'm an addict, but what the fuck? Um, I have a lot more time here in Thailand, and when I withdraw before going back to Germany, no one will ever find out in Germany what I did in Thailand. That's what I thought. And I actually asked Stefan what the withdrawal will be, if I'm an addict, is it possible to withdraw here in Thailand and go back to Germany? And he said, yeah. It's like a flu, it's like a flu. And then I always do it like that, I come here to Thailand, take drugs, withdraw, go back to Swiss. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. So I will do it, Before I go back, I will just stop the drugs in Thailand. So as I said, we were in Chiang Mai, and I just found out I'm a drug addict, and we needed some more stuff, So because our heroin was running out, we had not much more, and so we needed to buy some more somewhere somehow. And in the Golden Triangle, it shouldn't be a problem. So we went to another guest house, and I remember there were, nice guys, cool guys, and Stefan looked at all them, and he went straight to one guy, and he put it, it was sold in bottles, like that big, you know, round, that big. And he took out his bottle and showed it to him, and he just showed it to him, And the guy straight away knew what about, He said, "Yeah, come here." And we were becoming friends straight away. And Stefan asked him, where to get some more. And he said, yeah, no problem. I have no problem. You just come with me. And we went with him. And it was on a back street in a house in Chiang Mai, in a little street, small street, like a student guest house for students from Thailand. And there were living some guys, friends of him. And those guys were dealers, Thai dealers. Back then there was a death penalty on drugs, They were quite tough guys. Young, but tough. And they were shooting up heroin. And I saw that the first time in my life, I went into that small room with them, and we all started to take drugs, The one guy smoked, the other guy took a nose, me, for example. And those guys were shooting up, whap. And it was, wow, man. I couldn't do that. I couldn't put a needle into my arm. And yeah, we stayed in Chiang Mai, and those were our new friends. I remember we went to the bar in the evening. We went to bars, and in the day we just were sleeping. And those guys, they were tracking guys. Those heroin addicts, our friends. They used to be trekking guys. In Chiang Mai, there's all those mountains, and trekking guys go with tourists into the jungle and explore the jungle for money. For example, a tourist gives them, or a couple tourist gives them some money, and everybody takes backpacks, and they go for a week for a trek. They trek through the jungle, right through the jungle, above the moon fields, to Laos, straight away to the heroin farms. But I didn't know that. I was like, yeah, let's go trekking for a week with them. And we didn't have to pay them, because we just had to give them some of our heroin. they were they were we were cool with them because they used to have a lot of other clients, but those clients weren't heroin addicts, and they couldn't speak with them, and they couldn't, with us we were really close because we all were drug addicts. We had the same problem. And as soon we went out of Kaosan, we went into the mountains. And I remember very good, there were the tribes. And this guy brought us straight to the backside of the town, of the little town where the tribe from the tribes, and there was sitting the older man smoking opium, very, very secret, but because we were trustworthy, they trusted us, and it was like in a movie. They were smoking opium and gave that to us, and you smoke, and it was great, And then we went further up the mountains, and from tribe to tribe, and then every one of those tribes, the biggest story was opium mon. And as soon as they found out we are opium people too, they totally trusted us, And I realized the older people smoked opium, but the younger people, in my age back then, were all on heroin. So the younger tribal guys, mostly men, but not always, they were heroin addicts. Yeah, and we went really deep into the jungle, and there were moon fields in the middle of the jungle. Some of them were burned away from the police. With helicopters, they burned Agent Orange or whatever. They burned the moon fields, but not all of them. So there were quite a few moon fields. So I remember standing right inside the moon field, completely stoned, 21 years old, or 19 years old I was back then, not 21, 19 years old. And we went further and further into the jungle. We were riding on elephants. There was a long, how you call it, water, fluss, I don't remember the name. There was water, and we just were trekking, And then after a time, our trekking guy said, yeah, now we just left Thailand. We are in Laos now, And we said, what the fuck? Yeah, we went over the green border to Laos. And then he stopped us and said, right away, look over there. That's where it is. And there we saw a complete heroin farm. So there were people with guns on the standing around it, and inside it was a big tent, and they were making heroin out of moon, and they did it in Laos. And because it was so close to the border to Thailand, they brought it over the border to Thailand, brought it to Bangkok, and shipped it to the world, And it was very, very interesting to see all that, because all the tribal peoples were on heroin, on moon. It was like we drink our coffee here. They smoked their joint or heroin cigarette. Whatever. Yeah, it was very interesting. But when I went back to Chiang Mai, I remember Stefan coming back one night. He was stressed out, completely stressed out, and he closed the door very fast in our guest house, and he looked out and he said, yeah, the police just catched me, And I said, what the fuck, the police catch you? Yeah, there was coming a police guy, and he went straight. He had a bag through his, through here, and he was opening the bag, looked inside without asking Stefan, and said, I know, the policeman said, I know you have it. Do you have money? And Stefan realized straight away this guy meant the heroin inside his bag, the bottle of heroin. He knows it's inside. He saw it. And, or somebody told him before, because he was so straight away. And then he straight away asked for money. And Stefan said, yeah, no problem, no problem. And gave him all his money he had in the pocket. And then the police guy said, you have some more money in your apartment. Or can your parents send you some more money? You know, because it's really better for you to give me all the money you have, because otherwise you might be stressed out a little bit in a few days, you know, because they're going to take you out. So Stefan somehow persuaded him, gave him all he had in his pocket, and got away, you know. But that's how it worked back then. I realized that very, very, very fast. You know, you always have, if you have heroin in your pocket, you always have to carry money right beside it. Because if the police catches you, they're all corrupt, every one of them. And it's all about money. They don't want to arrest you. You know, they have nothing, they get nothing out of it, arresting you. They want money. They want to feed their family. So when they find you heroin, you give them money as much as you can, and then you're good. You know, if you don't have money, you are screwed straight away. Yeah. So that was a nice, interesting experience. And then we went always to one bar, I don't remember the name, and there was a girl inside, she was my age, and actually she was a prostitute. But back then, you know, there were prostitutes, but they didn't, not like in Europe or in America, they were so poor, so they seeked out guys they liked, and they wanted to live with them for quite a few weeks, and get fed, you know. So you didn't have to give them money. You just have to drink them, have to buy them the beer for the evening, and yeah, hang around with them for a week. They survive another week, you know. And I don't know if, or I still don't know. I fell in love with one of those girls quite bad. You know, Jiap was her name. She was doing it for money, working in that bar. But when we met, I was blown away. I really liked her, and I asked her out for the next night and the next night, and after a few days, I was really in love with her, but she was still very, what that guy about, you know. And I asked her, hey, Jep, do you want to come with Bangkok with me? Because I'm running out of money. I have to get some more money from Bangkok. My mom sent me. And she says, no, I can't. And I said, why you can't? I mean, just, it's no problem. I pay for everything. And she said, no, I can't, you know, and I can't tell you why, you know. And I said, come on, tell me why. You can tell me everything, you know. And she said, yeah, you know, I'm addicted to heroin, she said. And I said, yeah, well, you know, me too, you know. And that's when it clicked, you know. And I remember she looked at me and said, okay, this guy is okay, you know. And after that, we were together for the next year, doing heroin, being a couple, running wild in Thailand. She came with me, she carried the heroin, yeah, we went back to Bangkok and I started to become a dealer, because I got it very cheap because of her, you know. Thai people only trust Thai people. If you're a tourist, it's only about money. And so all the tourists, hang on, all the tourists who come there are very carefully because they're afraid to buy heroin from a tuk-tuk driver because maybe it's a snitch, And so the tourists preferred to do illegal things with tourists, not with Thai people, because they didn't trust Thai people. And Thai people didn't trust tourists because tourists were only money. They didn't see the human behind it, they saw the dollar bills. And so my girlfriend, Jia, she bought the heroin, always she bought it. When we weren't getting something to eat, she bought it. Everything what was about life or renting a room in a guest house, she did it because she was Thai. And I was just with her. So it was very cheap for me, very cheap. And on the other side, I sold heroin to tourists because I got it very cheap and I was able to sell it very expensive to tourists because they didn't have that connection like I had with a Thai woman or Thai people. And they were happy and I was happy. I one bottle of heroin I paid 400 baht and I sold it for 1,400 baht or 1,500 baht, so 3 times that much. So I had to, it was a lot of money, 1,500 baht. That's about the amount they make in a month or in 2 months for work, And if I just sold one bottle of heroin a week, we two were able to live for 4 weeks almost, So I had a very relaxed life, or we two had a very relaxed life because I just had to sell one bottle of heroin a week and everything was okay. For the week we had enough money. We could live there forever like that. Yeah, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out forever. As you see, I'm not in Thailand anymore now. Yeah. So I became really addicted after a while. I smoked more and more. Yeah. And after a while, somehow I ran out of money. I was too fucked up, I was too thin, and even the tourists didn't trust me anymore because, I didn't look trustworthy. I was very thin. Now I'm thin, but I was more thin. I was thinner. And, I ran out of money and I had to go back to Germany to get some more money to work some more. And then I wanted to go back to Thailand. And so that's what I did. I did exactly what Stefan told me. No, I didn't actually. What I did was, I couldn't stop smoking heroin. What I did was, when the day came, when my fly went to Germany, I was still fully on heroin. So I made a few bags, that big. There was maybe like 30 grams of heroin, and I stick them to my ass. I was making a condom around it, another one, another one, another one, and I stick like 3 or 4 bags, like 100 grams of heroin into my asshole, and flew back to Germany. Yeah. And when I got back here, I was sick as shit because the flu. This was the stupid stuff what happened to me back then. You know, I never had a heroin withdrawals before, and I flew back to Germany to Frankfurt, but the route was over. It was Bangkok, Bucharest, Germany, Frankfurt, and back then there was there was a war, Americans against whatever, Hussein or I don't remember. It was very shortly after the wall broke down and the Cold War stopped. So the flight was Bangkok, Bucharest, Bangkok, Bucharest, Frankfurt. So I had all the heroin inside my ass. I smoked my last heroin cigarette, and then I went to the airplane. And the amount of time was about 9 hours until Bucharest, and then I catch my next flight half an hour later, and then another hour or half an hour to Frankfurt. That's what the plan said, and that's what I thought it was gonna be, but it wasn't, because when my plane arrived in Bucharest, the plane was too late, and the flight from Bucharest to Germany, the next flight was 3 days later. So I didn't catch the flight to Frankfurt, and I had no more money, so I couldn't buy a visa to get out of the airport. You know, all the tourists who didn't catch the flight, they went straight out of the airport because they had some money, and they bought a visa, and they went to a hotel. To some hotel, but I had no money to get out of the airport, so I had to stay the whole 3 days inside the airport. You know, and back then Bucharest, it was no airport actually, it was just a big hall, you know, but with cracks in the roof, the water was getting through it, and there were just 3 police guys standing around and a few tables, and that was the whole airport, you know. And I was starting to getting sick, you know, and I had no money whatsoever. And I had to wait for 3 days for my flight. And those were actually the worst 3 days I ever had. In those 3 days I had a cold turkey all the time. I was puking, I was getting sick, I was shitting, I was withdrawing like hell, you know. And the police was always standing there with what's wrong with this guy? You know, he came from Bangkok. Where's Bangkok? You know, these were Romanian people. They didn't know what Bangkok is or where Thailand is or whatsoever. And I remember after 2 days I was so sick, you know. I asked for a doctor. I said, I'm so sick, I need a doctor. And somehow the police got me a doctor. And I told the doctor, well, I'm codeine addict, you know, I have a very bad cough, and so I need to do codeine every day, and I need my codeine. And the doctor said, what the fuck, we don't have codeine here in Bucharest and in Romania. We don't have anything like that, you know, you must just wait for your flight. And so I waited for my flight. And when I came back to Germany, it was January actually, it was cold as shit, you know. And when I came back to Germany, I had only, you know, like beach slippers on my foot. I had dirty legs, dirty feet. I had short pants. I had a dirty shirt. I was thin as hell. And that's how I went to the subway from the airport to my mom in January. in West Berlin. All the people were looking at me. What the fuck's wrong with it? It was brown, you know, my skin was brown, but I was a shit on two legs, you know. And my mother opened the door and she wanted to say, "Hi, my son, you know, it's nice to see you." And I said, "Go away, I need to go to the toilet, you know, I need to go to the toilet, please." And I shifted her up and she was like, "What the fuck?" You know, and I went straight into the toilet, tried to shit out the 100-gram worth of heroin. You know, and I did shit it out. And so when I came out of the toilet, I was already like, "Yeah, everything is okay. Hello, mom," you know. And I didn't want to tell her what's going on, you know. So it took like 2-3 weeks or whatever until the heroin I took with me was finished. And I had no idea where to get some in Berlin. And so I make a cold withdrawal. You know, it was not that bad. I was young, I was fit. And after that, I started working again, the same job as I did before. I made a lot of money. And I went back to Thailand.